Hi friends, I'm Amy and this is A Star Reads and I'm starting a new challenge. It's Monday morning. I've already gone to the gym, done what I need to do to get ready for the day, and later on this afternoon my challenge actually starts. It's going to go for 3 weeks and it's going to include these 6 books. My 6 Orilium courses. Because I finished 2 of my Orilium courses during the spring equinox, and I have 6 more that I need to accomplish. So next month is August, and that's when the autumn equinox starts, which is like, how did that happen so quickly? I don't know. But I need to get these courses complete. So if for some reason you have no idea what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the Orilium Readathon, this is a magical readathon that is like this school readathon where we have it twice a year and we have our own characters that we've created. My character is Lily. She is a necromancer in training. And I will link in the description box below everything you need to know for that particular readathon, for the Orilium Magical Readathon. This is hosted by G from Book Roast, and she has put so much work into this readathon. It's been going on for a very long time, and we're into the 2nd year of schooling. So the first year we actually created our characters and went through this process of trying to figure out who our character was going to be. The 2nd year was actually our first year of schooling, where we had spring equinox classes and autumn equinox classes, and that's where we became novice in our careers. And it took me a while to get there. I was finishing off my novice career at the beginning of this year. So if you'd like to see my adventures through Orilium so far, I will link a playlist that I've created down in the description box below. So my goal this year was to not get so far behind. Now, G had said that you can take courses after the actual month of spring equinox or autumn equinox, as long as you get everything done before the next school term. And I didn't do so well with that last time around. So I'm going to do better this time. And that means I need to read these 6 books, take these 6 courses, and get this done before August. That's where this little challenge is coming in, which is actually a challenge that was created by Allison from Allison on a Book Break. And I will link her information down below because you need to see the things she's doing over on her channel. She is giving herself so many challenges, making her life so difficult that it's really entertaining to watch. And she's got some very creative ideas. So one of the things she wanted to do for Orilium, and she did in Spring Equinox, was to create actual time blocking where she took certain courses at certain times. And she randomly generated the times during the days that she would be reading the different course books. And it was very chaotic. It was incredibly chaotic. And it was so awesome to watch. And so a few of us in the comments were saying, oh my gosh, this is so fun. We want to do it also. And we want to do it for Autumn Equinox. I really did want to be able to do it for Autumn Equinox because then I would have been able to do it with this group of people that were also doing it. However, I will be traveling most of August. I'm going to be out of town. I'm going to be visiting things. I'm going to be doing stuff. I'm very excited about it, but it makes it really hard to create specific times that you're reading specific books when you're not at home and not in the controlled settings of being able to say, okay, I need to stop everything I'm doing and take my course right now. And so I figured, I've got 6 courses to take right now. I'm going to do summer school. I'm going to summer school. I was so excited that my college courses were done completely. I finished taking my elementary educator exams. Why not go back to school during the summer? It's so smart. But I figure because this is reading and because I'm taking magical Orilium courses to become a necromancer as Lily, then it's not going to be so bad, I hope. It's very scary, and I will explain all the things that I'll be doing for this. I'm going to be trying to keep within the vein of how Allison did this on her particular challenge, but I did make things a little different for my schedule. And of course, with this being summer courses and how long I wanted to do it for the summer, I tried to make this work for me. So let's talk about how this is all going to work because it can be pretty complicated. Let's talk about the time blocking element of this. So the way Allison did this was she created a spinner wheel where she spun all these different times throughout the week, morning, afternoon, and evening, and I think early morning as well. And each time slot could be a different course. Like, it was really random. There was like different times all throughout the week where she had all these different choices, and she had study hall. And so like I was thinking about how I wanted to do things this summer and how it would work best for me, and I'm changing it up a little bit. So what I did was I had my spinner wheel that I created as well with different time blocks, and for each course, I spun the wheel twice. The first spin was the class time. So these are the times that I have to be there. I have to read this book during that time. This is my class time. So that means rearranging my schedule, my real life schedule, to make sure that I can be there for these classes. If there's an instance where I can't, it's going to happen, right? It's going to happen because this is going to go for 3 weeks. I'm doing this for 3 full weeks. I have 3 weeks to get these books done. And of course, any other books I need to be reading during this time. Good luck, Amy. And so then the second spin is the homework time. So that's the time throughout the week, the times when I will be able to do my homework for this course, meaning catch up. Like if I am not reading fast enough during the class time, then I can use that homework time to catch up. The thing is, I don't have to go during the homework time. If I feel like my reading's coming along fine and I skip homework time, then that's fine. But I can't read the books outside of either class time or their assigned homework time. And I can't read other books during, like if it's animal studies homework time, I can't read another inscription book during that animal studies homework time. Now, when it comes to weekends, I'm only giving myself 1 hour on Saturday and 1 hour on Sunday to try and catch up with any of the books that I'm getting far behind on, and it can be any of the books. So 1 hour Saturday, 1 hour Sunday, I can read a little bit of these books, but ideally I won't use that time. And that's just because a couple of these books are a little longer, maybe a little more difficult to read through, and I will have that chance to decide which one I want to focus a little more time on. And the reason I am only doing 1 hour on Saturday and Sundays, the optional, I guess we could call that study hall, is because there was this quest this time around that G set up. I think it's kind of like a choose your own adventure sort of quest, and I really wanted to do that. And so Saturdays and Sundays are field study days. That's when I will be doing field studies and I will be out on quests. Now, hopefully the quests will allow me to read the books that are already on my TBR for the month, so I can actually read the books I need to read during this time, because I'm afraid that these are going to take up a lot of my time. And I'm also buddy reading a couple of books right now, so there's a lot going on. I'm buddy reading 3 books, and one of them I'm not doing a very good job on. So we will see what happens. So that's how my daily schedule is going to work, and I have a feeling it's not going to make a lot of sense until we actually go through the process of assigning the days and times of my classes and my homework. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, so if we look at this spinner wheel has all my courses on it, including field studies. And in reality, I just decided field studies would be on Saturday and Sunday. So I don't really need that there, but it was on there when I was doing the spinning. So once we spun that particular wheel, the first class we're focusing on is Conjuration. So the focus of my Conjuration course this term is spirit binding spells, and for that I needed to have a friend recommend a book for me. My friend Theresa recommended Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I have been waiting to read this for a while. So this is my Conjuration book, and this is the one I will be using to finish this course. So now let's see what my class time is going to be. This will be the class time for this particular course. Okay, so for Conjuration on Tuesdays and Thursdays, my class time will be from 8 to 9:30 because it's a 1.5 hour course, and it's in the morning time. And because this is the first one that came up, I'm just using the first time slot. Now let's see what my homework time is going to be. I did take off that particular time slot because it's not going to be able to be used again. So every time I go through here, I'm taking off the course, the first and the second time slots after I spin them. So my homework time for Conjuration is going to be Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. During the evening time, it's a 30-minute homework session. And for me, that's going to be from 7 to 7:30 because my evening starts at 7. Before I go on to the next one, I just want to point out that another thing that Allison had done was create these amazing bookmarks, and I wanted to do it too. So I created this bookmark. It's Conjuration. It shows my class schedule on there. Tuesdays and Thursdays, my class is circled, and it's from 8 to 9:30. My homework session there, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, 7 to 7:30. On here it shows date and page number, so I will put the date, the page number, and whether or not this was class or a homework session. And so I put as many as there are class and homework sessions on here. And then on the back, it has Conjuration. It shows the book and the author name. And then down here, these are the study sessions. These are the possibilities for the weekend. If I need to spend more time on Legends and Lattes on my Conjuration course during a Saturday or Sunday, I can use one of these here. And down here is the specific class I'm taking, Spirit Binding Spells. So that's my bookmark. I love it. I can put it in here, and then here I can see my schedule. And when I'm actually reading the book, I can just mark everything down and leave it in my book. When I saw Allison make these bookmarks, I was so excited. And that's what prompted me to make the bookmarks for my students, for the 5th graders going into the 6th grade, for their 6th grade schedule that I put on those bookmarks. It was awesome. The kids loved them, and it was such a great idea that I'm like, oh my gosh, Allison, this is incredible. So I was like looking forward to making these, but I love that it inspired me to make the gifts for my students. All right, so for the next course, I landed on Inscription. So for Inscription, the actual course is to create a glyph for flight, which I think is pretty awesome. And for that one, we had to pick a book that was at the top of our bookshelf, like the highest book on our bookshelves. So at the very height of my bookshelves, I have these authentic book boxes, which are, I call them 5 senses book boxes, because I'd gotten these for a little while and then I just never got around to doing them. But they have a whole bunch of fun stuff in them to enjoy your reading experiences using 5 senses. So there's like a recipe for food, there's a recipe for drinks, there's candles, there's some face stuff. Well, this is deodorant wipes. There's body stuff that you can use. There is also, of course, the book, which you can use your eyes, so your sight, and then your sense of touch. And so I was really excited that I was finally going to be able to do one of these 5 senses. So in the next couple of weeks, when I do these vlogs, I will try and do a 5 senses experience, and you'll get a chance to see that. So this one works for the highest book on my bookshelf. And so the next thing to do is to pick my actual class time and my homework time. So let's see what we're going to get. Okay, so for my class schedule, you'll see that I landed on Tuesday and Thursday for 2 hours in the evening. And so going with the first available time block for that section of time, it's going to be Tuesdays and Thursdays from 7 to 9. That's a long class time. That's a very long class time. Okay, let's check out how much homework time I'll have for this particular book. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I'm going to have 1.5 hours in the morning to work on catching up with this one. So that's going to be Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays from 8 to 9:30 will be my homework time for the fastest way to fall. What an interesting homework time. I don't know if I ever did homework that early in the morning. Maybe I did when I was trying to like get stuff done in a rush. So here is my bookmark for that one. I'm going with this pretty green color. There's my schedule. And of course, the same thing on this one. The book I'm reading, and there's my actual class, Glyph Flight. Let's see what course is going to be next. Animal studies. Okay, so for my animal studies, we're studying heads and tails. And for this, we had to flip a coin, heads and tails. And if it was heads, it would be nonfiction. If it was tails, it would be fiction. I flipped heads, and the book that I went with was a book that I hadn't had a chance to read the month before, and that's Untamed. So this is a memoir about Glennon and Doyle, and it has some very feminist themes in it, and I'm looking forward to it. So I haven't read nonfiction in a little while, and it'll be great to get into a memoir, because memoirs for me often read more narrative style, and that's kind of what I need to read right now. So let's see what my class times for animal studies are going to be. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 1 hour in the afternoon. That's not so bad. That seems pretty good, actually. So the first time slot for that is 1 to 2 p.m. So it'll be Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 1 to 2 p.m. for animal studies. And so for my homework session, I'm going to spin that now, and that one, okay. Ugh. Now, the reason I say is because that's not very much. Like 1 hour, 3 times a week, then 30 minutes, another 3 times a week. That's gonna make animal studies one of the ones that I might have to use some of the study sessions on the weekends for. So of course I've created my bookmark. I've got my schedule there, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 1 to 2. And then there's of course all my possibilities, my book name, my study sessions, and heads and tails. And I probably will have to use those study sessions. I just don't know how quickly I'm gonna be able to get through this one. Although it's not a super long book, a little over 300 pages, so it shouldn't be too bad, but you never know because it's nonfiction memoir. it shouldn't be too bad. We'll see. Okay, so the next one still had field studies on it. And the reason I left field studies on there at the time was I was thinking, will I do the quests or will I not do the quests? And if I landed on field studies before I landed on the other ones, I was gonna say, yes, I will do the quest. And so I did end up landing on field studies. So I'm definitely doing the quest, or at least gonna attempt to do the quest on the weekends. The next course I'll be focusing on is lore. It's lore. Okay, so for that one, the course is The Legend of Dia, and that's a book with a map in it. And so I'm finally going to read The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I'm so excited about this. And let's find the map, so you believe me. This was a gift from my booktube buddy, Antonisha, so thank you, Antonisha. I'm very excited to get to this. And there's our map. So I don't know if this is the only map in here, but this is the map that is right at the front. So let's find out when I will be taking this course. My class time is going to be Tuesdays and Thursdays for 2 hours in the afternoon. So that is another rough one. These 2-hour classes are going to be tough. They're going to be really tough. So hopefully I can take a break, like a 5-minute break in between or something. Let's see what my homework times are going to be. Okay, that's not bad. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for 1.5 hours in the afternoon. So let's think about this schedule. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 to 3 in the afternoon, because that was the first time slot, and then Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for my homework session from 2 to 3:30. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm already starting to get a bit nervous about those. So here's my lore bookmark. And I did go for different colors for every single bookmark, so I could easily identify them. So Tuesday and Thursday, 1 to 3, and then my homework session on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Of course, this whole section, the book name on the back, The Poppy War, my study sessions, and The Legend of Dia is my class. This is the only one that I'm a little nervous about being able to get accomplished by the end of this 3-week period, because it doesn't look that big, but it's over 400 pages, and it's fantasy, so I'm a little worried that it might take me a little time. So it might be another one that I have to use my study sessions for, but I do have a lot of class time and homework time for this, so fingers crossed that I'm able to stick to those. So let's see what the next class we're going to be planning for is. We've just got 2 now. And demonology. Okay, so for demonology, the actual class is learning about the types of demons that are called impersonators. And so impersonators are obviously something that resembles another thing. And for this, I wanted a book that would resemble one of my favorite books, which is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. And I've actually been told by a lot of people that they struggle with this other book, or they liked this book more than Dark Matter because they're so similar in a lot of ways. And that's actually Recursion by Blake Crouch. It's a different book, I think, on a pretty different topic, but his writing has a lot of similarities in a lot of ways. And some people say that this one they don't enjoy quite as much because it's too similar to Dark Matter. So let's find out what my class schedule is for demonology. Okay, my class is Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 3:30 to 5, because it's an 1.5-hour class, and that was the next time block. Let's see what my homework schedule is going to be. Another 2-hour block. Okay, well, at least that's for homework. That's not too bad. Tuesdays and Thursdays, and in the morning, what will work for me is 10 to 12, so 10 to noon. And I did make sure when I was making my schedule that I allowed like an hour for lunch, an hour for dinner, so that I wasn't just blending all these classes together. So there are strict deviations between morning, afternoon, and evening. So here's my pretty demonology bookmark. And as you'll see, my schedule, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 3:30 to 5. Homework, Tuesdays, Thursdays, my 2 hours. And that's actually nice. It's better having those 2-hour blocks during your homework than required class time. But there's that. And then, of course, my book name, my study session, and my type impersonators, the type of class I'm actually taking. Of course, that leaves me with the very last possible class, which is spells and incantations. And my course for this is the spell Magic Missiles. And what she said about Magic Missiles is it's all about precision. You're trying to use the spell to get precise with these different magic missiles. So we had to pick a book that was between 389 pages and 415 pages, which is actually a very small range. It's a very small range. So the book that's going to work for this course is Amy's Eyes by Richard Kennedy. And this was a gift from Precious, and she has a channel called Reading Through the Generations. Precious is absolutely wonderful. She's been with my channel for a very long time now, almost since the beginning. And she's just so supportive, so kind. And she does do work for this publishing company called Jericho Hill Publishing. So she has sent me some of the books that have been published by this publishing company. And this one I'm very excited about because it's on a boat and it's about my eyes, which is actually a doll. Amy's a doll. And this is a book that I don't hear about on BookTube. So I'm looking forward to being able to read this and share my experience reading it and share my thoughts on this. And hopefully more readers will get a chance to check out Amy's Eyes. So let's find out what my schedule will be for spells and incantations. There's not as many options on my class schedule list. My class time is 2 hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays. In the afternoon, though. Okay, that's rough. Wow, Tuesdays and Thursdays are going to be tough. They're going to be really tough. Let's see what my homework schedule is going to look like. Oh, okay. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for 1 hour in the evening. So my schedule is going to be Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3 to 5. That's like a hard time of the day because I'm always tired around 3 to 5. And then my homework session is going to be Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 8 to 9. I think I had 10 as the latest it could go. But yeah, 8 to 9, that's not so bad because I tend to read a lot in the evenings anyways. I won't be reading a lot in the evenings during this. I'll be reading mostly during the day. But we'll see how it goes because that's homework time. I'd rather have class at that time than homework. Here is my schedule. Tuesdays, Thursdays, 3 to 5. Homework, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 8 to 9. For spells and incantations, there's the bookmark. And of course, Amy's Eyes, my study sessions, and the actual course. So that's it for my courses, and I will show you a picture of what my course schedule looks like. This is my actual week, every single week, what my week should look like. And on the Saturdays and Sundays, I have field studies with the option of 1 hour each day to do some catching up, to have a study session. We'll see how this goes. And today is going to be my first test run. So if we look at my schedule here, obviously the first 2 homework sessions in the morning I'm not going to be doing because I haven't taken any actual courses yet. Then I've got my animal studies course, which I can do from 1 to 2. So I will be taking my animal studies class. My lower homework session, I don't take that first class until Tuesday. Then I've got demonology from 3:30 to 5 p.m. So I'll be able to take that class today. And then my other 2 homework sessions this evening, I haven't taken those first courses yet, the classes, so I can't do any homework because I haven't actually taken the class yet. So for today, I'm actually only going to be doing an hour of animal studies and an hour and a half of demonology. So these will be my focuses today. And then tomorrow I will have 4 classes, 3 of them that are 2 hours each. So that's 6 hours that I will be in class tomorrow. Well, 7.5 hours that I will be in class tomorrow. So tomorrow's gonna be a rough day. And then I do have a 2-hour demonology homework session, so I could do this during that time. I don't know if I'll be able to be honest. I think that these first couple of days, I'm just gonna see what I can do and then maybe wait until my next demonology homework session to actually do that because this is a lot. It's a lot. I'm a little nervous and I'm gonna be overwhelmed. So I will be doing weekly vlogs for this, so there should be 3 vlogs because it's 3 weeks. And the thing I forgot to talk about, how I'm finishing this out, because Allison actually did finals where she had specific days where she had specific finals that she had to do. And I'm actually not going to do that because these are summer courses and they're pass, no pass. So I either pass them or I fail them. That is the option. On the very last class day of each of these courses, I have to be ready to give my review of the book because I have finished it. And if I am not, on that very last class day, if for whatever reason I don't finish my course, Demonology, and I'm not ready to give a review on Recursion, then I don't pass this class. And I have to, before I go on to the next Orilium, I have to finish this course by doing another book that fulfills the prompt type impersonators. And that will be rough, but that's kind of fun. It gives me a little bit of accountability. If I am not ready to give a review, if I have not finished the book, then I have failed that course, and before I can go on to the next prompt during Autumn Equinox for Demonology, so before I can do the Demonology prompt in August, I have to read a book that fulfills the course type impersonators. That's what it's going to be. So I have a lot of incentive to get these done. I do not want to have to retake these courses. So that's it. That's it. And I will be starting at 1 p.m. today. I will let you know a little bit of a synopsis of these books when I get through a portion of them and show you how it goes. And fingers crossed that it goes well. Okay, so I'm sitting back on the couch getting ready to start my Heads and Tails course, my animal studies course, and it is just about 1 p.m., so I will have an hour to read this, and let's see how far I can get. I'm a little nervous whenever I start a new book because the beginning of my reading is never quick. I am really interested in this one. I had a therapist who said that this would be a good read for me, so we'll see if she's right. Okay, so I finished my first course class, 1 hour of animal studies, and as you saw, I made it 36 pages, although there was a prologue, so it was a little more than 36 pages, because that was like, XXX1 sort of pages. Anyways, I felt like that was a really good start. And this is reading really quick because of the way the words are formatted on the page, but then also because this is a whole bunch of little vignettes. And she starts out this whole book really showing us how she's lived her life up to this point, feeling like she has been placed in these cages that society expects of her as a woman, giving us hints as to why she felt this way, like what of her stories in her life have led her to believe that she had to behave these different ways based on what society expected of her, but then how she was able to reverse that and start doing things her own way, understanding her sexuality better, understanding her body better, understanding all these different factors in her life that she was living for other people, not for herself. And then now how she has changed her life to live it for herself, to create it for herself. And so I am very interested in this. I'm very intrigued. And some of these stories have definitely hit a couple of spots where I'm like, okay, that's an important thing to think about. I'm very lucky in the sense that I haven't made a lot of choices in my life for other people. I think that the person that is hardest on me is me. But of course, that level of being hard on myself is probably based on what society expects from me as a person. So I know that this is going to be a really important read and maybe will help me be a little kinder to myself, because I tend to shame myself. I tend to be cruel to myself when it comes to what I expect from me. And it doesn't help me become the better person that I want to become for my life. So I'm very interested. I'm very intrigued. It's a very easy read, which I'm very happy about, because this is actually the class where I have the least amount of time to read, with my class length and then my homework sessions only being 30 minutes. Like, I don't have a lot of time for this particular book. That's it for today with animal studies, and I don't think that I come back to this until Wednesday. So we'll be done with Untamed for now. Next, I will be doing demonology at 3:30. It is currently 2:08, so I have time to do some other things, including eat lunch, because I haven't eaten anything. I've been feeling really icky today. My stomach has been bad. My head has been on and off. Like, I'm trying to fight a headache sometimes my headaches turn into migraines. So I'm like fighting this thing here, trying to keep it from going that direction. So just in general, it's a bad feeling day. I don't feel healthy. I'm just going to take it easy. And I was gonna film my TBR video in between these two classes, but I don't know if that's wise because I think I need some downtime. Geranium roll call. We've got these pretty ones. This one up here. And this one is never gonna do anything, I swear. This one's starting to bud, so that's exciting. This one has a bud right there. This one is this pretty pink one. So it's like a lighter pink with the dark pink on the center, and this one is a light pink with a dark pink in the center, and then this one's a dark pink with a light pink in the center. And then I've never seen this one bud. I don't know if it will. It's so leggy. I've actually cut it down quite a few times and added the pieces in here, and then it just keeps getting leggy again. But it doesn't want to bud at all. This one's really cool. And if you look, it's got like these, what do you call it? Variegated petals. That's the first time this one started opening, so I can't wait to see what it looks like once it's fully opened. And these ones are, I think, called Queen Anne's. And they're finally starting to bud. Look at that. That one's gonna open up soon. This one is not budding yet. No, I don't think so. This one neither. Some of these had fallen apart and I had to like, there's one right there. There's the bud right there. These had fallen apart, like they'd gotten broken off, so I just shoved the other pieces down into the dirt. And geraniums are actually really good about, if you shove a piece into the dirt, it'll start to reroot. Then down here, we've got more of an orangey pink. And these ones are really all starting to open up. This is the same one as that. So it'll turn actually more pink. Like you can see there, they're starting to turn more pink. And then here's that light pink with the dark, which actually came from the same plant. I had a piece break off, so I put it up in that thing there. This one has budded before, and I think it has some buds. Yeah, it does right there. But I don't remember what that color was. And this one is, of the Queen Anne's, the closest one to opening. Wait, there. That one's gonna open really soon. And here's my other Queen Anne. Are they called Queen Anne? I can't remember. But it's got a whole bunch of buds also. And those are all my geraniums. I put this metal thing here to hold them. And I like it. It turned out really well. So I just finished my first demonology class, an hour and a half from 3:30 to 5. It's Monday. And I went 36 pages. So it took me a little bit longer reading this one versus the first book because, well, the formatting of the writing is a little different. So there's definitely more words on a page here. But also, this is very scientific in a lot of ways. So it takes my brain a little time to process some of the things that they're talking about when they're talking about this brain science, because it's very specific and very detailed. So, just trying to understand exactly what the science is here so that I know what's going on. I mean, that kind of stuff just takes a little bit longer, especially when you're not quite as knowledgeable about neuroscience as the people that are in this book. So far, this book is about two characters. We've got Barry. His timeline is taking place in 2018, and he is a cop for the NYPD, and he works in the robbery sector. So like when there are robberies, he goes out and he handles those. But at the very beginning of this, he is called into a situation where there's someone who's about to commit suicide, and he's trying to talk her down, and she is suffering from this disorder called false memory syndrome. So apparently with this disease or virus or whatever it is, at least that's what they're saying it is, she suffers from having this whole second set of memories of a completely different life that she's not currently leading. So in this other set of memories, she was married to this man, she had a 9-year-old son, all these things that she has confirmed by going and checking and talking with this man and finding out there was no son, that this wasn't a reality. But she believes it so strongly, she knows it, she remembers it so strongly, that it's really just affecting her emotionally, and she misses this life she never had. She doesn't love her real life as much as she loves the false memories of this other life. So he's trying to talk her down and also trying to figure out the mystery of this false memory situation. Now, on the other hand, we have this woman named Helena in 2007, I think it goes into 2007, 2008, and she is a neuroscientist, and she's trying to figure out how to solve the problem of dementia and Alzheimer's. In the sense that I don't think she's trying to cure Alzheimer's. What she's trying to do is figure out a way to bank all those long-term memories so that I think you can access them as somebody who has Alzheimer's, or at least you can replay them for somebody who has Alzheimer's. I'm not exactly sure the science behind what she's trying to do, but she gets funded by this incredibly rich person, and she's going off to try and solve this problem with a huge group of people and tons of money. And she's doing it mostly because her mom has Alzheimer's and is suffering, and her father is suffering, and of course it's really difficult for their family. So it has a lot of significance for her. So that's where we are right now, and I would imagine that these two storylines have something to do with each other, because otherwise why would we be reading about both of them in this book? But I am enjoying it so far. It is taking a little bit of time to get into it because of all the jargon and getting used to all the different acronyms and things that are being discussed. However, I think that once I get into the flow and the action starts going, especially this was my experience with Dark Matter, that there was quite a bit of action after a while, and then the pace just picked up quite a bit. I have a feeling it's going to be the same with Recursion. So at this point, it's not the quickest of starts, but I am enjoying it. Good morning! It's day 2 for my challenge, and I am nervous because Tuesdays and Thursdays, to be honest, scare me. If you look at my schedule, I'm going to be reading almost all day. I just don't know how well I can do this. I mean, I know I've done my 24 and 48 hour vlogs before, so I've definitely spent days where I've read a lot during the day. I don't know how I'm going to maintain it for 3 weeks, if I'm going to be able to. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe I'll be able to get through these books so quickly that I won't need the full 3 weeks, and that would be perfect. So since I'm kind of treating this like my catch-all vlog, I wanted to give you a little bit of an update of the other books I'm reading at the moment that don't have anything to do with Orilium, but I figured might as well let you know because I'm not doing a Sunday Sum Up at the moment. I'm currently finishing up Station 11, and this is a buddy read with my friend Jean, and we are really close to the end, and this has been a really fun reread. Just fun in the sense that, you know, this is about a pandemic, but fun to have a chance to talk to someone thoroughly about this book. And we've gone through all the details. This is such a detailed book. Like, the details that Emily St John Mandel carries throughout the whole book are fascinating, really fascinating. So yeah, we're right there, and we're getting close. We're getting really close. And then the other book I'm really actively working on at the moment, my other buddy read, is House of Earth and Breath by Sarah J Maas, and I'm currently right there. So not as far along in this one, but still 548 pages into this over 800 page book. Oh, I didn't realize is it that one? Oh, it's 799 pages, excuse me. Doing really well with this particular buddy read, and I'm glad it has turned into what it has turned into, because I was afraid I was really not going to like this book for the first, fifth of this book. The writing style was really, really difficult for me to get into, which doesn't usually happen with fantasy type books, but wow, it was hard for me to get into. But once I got into it, now I'm just absolutely at the seat of my pants, absolutely enjoying this, loving the characters. I was surprised how much I ended up enjoying the characters. So I'm really having fun with this buddy read. And I'm reading this with Di from Deese's 19 Hearts, and Di and I are also really going through a lot of the details in this book, so it's nice to be able to talk to somebody about it. So the first class I'm starting today is Conjuration, and that's from 8 to 9:30, so an hour and a half to read. Legends and Lattes, this might be the one I'm most excited about reading. I'm just so excited about this. I would like to say I haven't built the hype up of this too much, but I think I have, so let's hope it lives up to the hype, because I'm so excited about this. But I'm happy because this is a morning time class, and I'll be able to drink my coffee while I'm reading about Legends and Lattes, which I think is cool. Other than that, today all I have planned are my classes, and I need to film and edit and post my TBR video. Okay, so some initial thoughts with Legends and Lattes. For one, this isn't really about this book, but I'm just wondering, you know, I'm a person who reads a lot of books at once anyways, but I'm already reading 2 books. I'm going to be adding 6 new books. I'm curious to see how well I'm going to transition between all these different books. So we'll see. Secondly, as is true about starting any new books, it takes me a little bit of time to get started and my brain to change from one writing style to another. And although the writing style is pretty simple in this, as far as like it's not too complex, it is taking me a little bit of time to adjust to a different writing style because it is definitely a lot different than the other books I'm currently reading. What I can say is that I'm already loving the dialogue in this. I feel like Travis Baldree is doing a great job of depicting the ways that these characters would talk and making it seem realistic even though it's in a fantasy world. And so every time Viv, our orc, this character right here, starts talking with someone new in this town of Fuel? Is it Fuel? I don't remember. But anytime she starts talking to somebody new, I get a good chuckle because they just have some really fun, witty banter in this. And even though it's all fantasy and these are all fantasy characters, there's something realistic. It feels realistic to this place and time. And that's an odd thing to say, right? Because realistic to me is the world that we live in right now. It's just the way it's written. It's really clever. And I can see how this already is starting out to be more of a cozy read because we're just kind of getting to know things and seeing Viv on her little journey, her adventure to starting a coffee shop. It just feels relaxing. And I'm really trying to not rush and enjoy this one because with a challenge like this, I might feel pressured to try and get through as many books as possible, but I don't want to rush a cozy fantasy. I want to enjoy this for what it's meant to be. Viv is an orc who's just tired of adventuring. She's been adventuring for 22 years, and she is ready now to settle down and not die the death that most orcs die, like adventurous deaths. She wants to actually live her life doing something for herself, and that is opening a coffee shop. We'll see how it goes because nobody in this city actually has ever heard of a coffee shop or coffee in general. They don't know what it is. Things are going well so far. I have filmed my whole TBR video. I haven't been able to start editing it yet. It's currently about 12? Just kidding, it's 11:30, so I actually have more time than I thought. I will be going into 2 classes come 1 o'clock. I've got 2 2-hour-long classes back to back. So I'm sure I'll need to take like a bit of a break in between, which will eat into my class time, but it's okay. I need to take care of myself. And most time when you have a long class like this, your teacher gives you like a 5-minute break to go to the bathroom and stuff. So I'm not too worried about that. I am a little worried about 4 hours of reading straight. Just like, oh no! And I seem to have a lot of extra energy today. So I'm taking CC out again so I can try to burn off some of this energy. It's been a lot of sitting and then talking to the camera today. So I am going to be quiet for 4 hours. And so for the next hour and a half, I might do some yard work because I need to get off some of this energy. So maybe I'll do a little bit of weed whacking, do some planting, just some of the things that I want to do. And I just don't have the energy to do it usually. But I'm trying to get more yard work done. But with this new schedule, with all these courses, I'm like, how am I going to get all the stuff that I've been trying to do lately done? So this is a good time to do it. This weekend, my aunt gave me this really pretty columbine plant. Can you focus? Come on, focus. Yeah, it is really pretty. And I just love the flowers on this, and I actually thought that this would be kind of nice out in the woods. So I've planted it here. It's among a lot of these weeds and stuff, but I think it'll be really pretty once it starts spreading. And I have other plants that I have ideas to put out here in this little field that we kind of get, and it's always like this. There are these boxes that the people had put before us, but they're full of ferns, big ferns, and I don't want to ruin the ferns. So I have some other ideas of other plants that I think will work out better in the wild that I'm going to try and put out here and clear some of these other more invasive types of weeds and maybe try to get some more natural types of weeds out here. Oh, look. Look at that little girl, Cece. So this will be an interesting pairing because I have a 2-hour class for lore where I'll be reading a grimdark fantasy, followed by a 2-hour class where I'll be reading a whimsical, sweet middle grade book. So I'll be devastated, and this will hopefully cheer me up. Okay, so I did just finish my 2-ish hours lore class. And the reason I say ish is because I'm gonna take a 10-minute break in between. So I'm taking 5 minutes off of this particular class and 5 minutes off the next class to take a bit of a break. I did have something to eat while I was reading, but I tried to eat while I was reading so that I wouldn't take too much time away from the actual reading. So I made it 49 pages, which I felt was pretty good considering these are thin pages and this is pretty small text. So I feel like I was making a good dent in this one. And this is the one that I imagine will take me the longest to read because it's a heavier fantasy and because it is actually a lot of pages. Like, it's over 500 pages. It's about this girl named Rin, and she's a war orphan. So basically at the time that she's alive, there were these wars, and when the parents of these children were killed in a war, the other families within the country had to adopt the children if they had less than 3 children. So like you had to adopt one of these war orphans. And unfortunately for the war orphans, that meant that there was a lot of resentment. People abused and used these children, and Rin's adopted parents, or she calls them auntie and uncle, the people who adopted her have treated her terribly, and they just resent her. They don't want her to be there, and they want to marry her off. So she's 14 and she's been promised to this somebody who will give them advantage within their career because they sell opium. She is determined to not live this life. She wants to go to an academy. And the only way she can get into an academy is by studying a great deal and having this tutor, the only person in her life who actually cares about her, having him help her get into one of these academies. So she has to take this big exam. Because she has no money, she has to get into the best school, the military academy, because they take people for free. Like, you don't have to pay to get into the military academy. But it's also the hardest school to get into. It's incredibly difficult. Very few people ever get into it, let alone people from where she's from, which is a farming community. And so she has to study to the point where she's not sleeping anymore, and she's burning herself to keep herself awake. And it's pretty extreme. But she gets in. So we have just gotten to the school, and I hope that's not super spoilery. That's within the first 40 pages. I mean, and we know she goes to this academy, this training academy. I feel like the writing is very easy to get into. It's just that you're trying to remember all these different places, all these different names, and there's a lot of history in this. So I'm trying to remember like all the history that's being provided and how that's going to affect the story overall, because it has significance. This is a book all about war. So the significance of what has happened within the wars of this time is valuable information for the story. At this point, it has had some darker moments, but nothing horribly gruesome. So I think I'll be fine moving on to my middle grade. Which I probably have less than 10 minutes to, I have 5 minutes to enjoy before I get started. So I'll talk to you later. I've got about 50 minutes left, and I'm getting antsy. I'm like, I don't think I can sit here and read any longer. So yeah, that's interesting. Well, that last hour was rough. So I finished my section, my course for spells and incantations today. I read 73 pages, which is not too surprising. This is a middle grade book, I think. There's definitely moments of this where I'm like, that's a bit, is that middle grade? And the villain in this is pretty awful, like kind of sadistic. I was like, oh, this is Oh, she's really bad. Okay, so let's talk about Amy's eyes. Amy is a girl. So she starts out as a girl, and she has been orphaned with her doll that her father created for her. He was a tailor, but he couldn't get work. So he was going to go off to become a sailor or work in the town where sailors lived so he could maybe fix sails, so he could do something. He just needed to find a place where he could have work, and he had hoped that he would come back for Amy when he had enough money to. He never comes back. But she has this doll, the captain he's called, because he's this little sailor doll. And as she grows up, the women of the orphanage give her this doll, and she takes him around with her for like years, and she just absolutely loves him, and he's her best friend. Well, at one point, she accidentally stabs him in the head with a needle because she's trying to fix him up, and he starts turning human. Because that's what happens. You stab a doll in the head with a needle, and they become alive. That's frightening. Anyways, he considers her his twin, his sister. And so the two of them are kind of talking about the life they're going to lead outside of this orphanage when he actually gets large enough to be a full adult man, because he is consistently growing. He ends up having to sneak out of the orphanage because the women, especially one particular woman, the lady, Miss Quince, is trying to get rid of him. Like they can't let him be there because he's a man and he's not allowed to be among all these girls, even though he's a little man. So he goes off and he says to his sister before he goes, he says, I'm going to go off, I'm going to get bigger, I'm going to work on a ship until I'm large enough to be able to come back to you, and then I can take you rightfully as my sister, and I'll be a full-grown man at that point. One of the mistresses, Mistress Quince, is trying to keep all these people apart, trying to keep the captain away from his sister, and really trying to ruin everything. She's just a bitter, angry person. Anyways, in Amy's grief, at one point, she turns into a doll. So that's kind of where we're at. She's become a doll, and that's why I said she's a doll. And it says in the back that she is a doll. So hopefully we'll get some sort of resolution where the captain will come back for her, and maybe she'll turn out not to be a doll anymore. I don't know. I don't know where it's going to go from here because we still have quite a ways to go. So at this point, it's interesting. It does read like a much older book, like it was written a long time ago. And there are some really cute, like Mother Goose fairy tales, riddles and stuff like that included in here that you get to read through. It's kind of like a cross between like a fairy tale and a folk tale. It's got the adventure arc of a fairy tale, but it feels more like a nursery rhyme almost in the kind of magic or kind of things that are happening. So maybe like slightly folktale-ish. So this did drag a little bit in parts for me, but it wasn't unenjoyable. It was just that I think I'm getting tired of reading, and this isn't exactly the kind of book I feel like reading right now. So I feel like there's certain parts where I'm really getting into it, and then there's other parts where I'm like, okay, am I gonna make it through these 2 hours? But I think I will enjoy this. And if anything, it's taking me on this cute little adventure. The sections on the ships, that feels like this great adventure that I'm enjoying. Okay, I know that I usually have a lot of background noise in my videos, but there might be some more because the window's open and my cat is just laying so peacefully in it. I don't want to bother him. But it is rush hour traffic. People are going home. So my next class is starting at 7, and that's Inscription. This is my final class that I haven't started yet, and I'm excited about this one because it's a romance novel, which is good for me in my brain because that was a long day of reading. So let's talk about my Inscription book, The Fastest Way to Fall by Denise Williams, because I actually got this book from a book box subscription, and that is the Authentic Books subscription box. And I was really interested in this particular box, which I no longer get, but I got it for a little while because it gives you a 5 senses experience. So I want to kind of go through the 5 senses aspect of this, and then I will hopefully be able to do these things during these next 3 weeks. My plan is to just have a nice 5 senses experience, and I don't know that I'll be able to do it all in one day. Maybe I will, but I kind of want to see what I need to do first, and then it'll give me an idea of what I can do. Okay, so here's the little booklet that tells us the different items that come in this box, and then how it fulfills the 5 senses aspect. So we've got the book, which covers sight, because when I read this book, I'll be looking at it, and then touch. So it's interesting because it's given us refresh wipes and a better bar, so get the fun out of here. This is deodorant wipes, cleanse and deodorize your underarms, and then this is a protein bar, the better bar. I don't know why they give me a candle. That's interesting. Why'd they put a candle on that? And these actually make sense because this book is all about sports and it's all about working out and stuff like that. So I think it makes sense that it would have like these sporty items that would go in here. Something for after the gym and something for keeping your body full of protein. Next, for smell, we've got the hand-poured soy candle, and it's called For Bubbles. It says, enjoy the sweet smell based on our main female character, Britta. That's a little weird. Smelling the main character. Oh, she smells good. Look at that. Oh, that's a really good smelling candle. I like that. Okay, well, I'll definitely be burning that. I'll probably start burning it today when I'm actually reading my book. And then for taste, there's two options. The actual item that I got in the box for taste is a tea, and this is Caramel Rubios. It tastes just like your favorite caramel latte. So that sounds amazing. Let's see how it smells. Oh, it smells like caramel. Yeah, that smells really good. So I can definitely have some tea. I do have Inscription as morning homework on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So maybe on one of those days after I get back from the gym, I can make myself some tea and enjoy this book with the tea. The other thing that we don't actually get is a cocktail mixer, but we do get a recipe for the cocktail, and that is called Painkiller Cocktail. 2 ounces of rum, 1 ounce of our brown sugar simple syrup, which we didn't get the simple syrup, but I can make a brown sugar simple syrup. Pineapple juice, orange juice, cream of coconut, sparkling water, and a pineapple slice. So that sounds really nice for the summertime. That's a summertime drink. And I'm definitely gonna try and make this before the 3 weeks are up. Then you get another touch item, and that is this vanilla plum soy body whip. Let's see how it smells. Oh, it smells like it's closed. It smells nice. It's very light smell. I like that though. It smells really good, and I'll try it on now. It smells really good, actually. I like this. I like this a lot. It's also a very summery scent. So I think that this box is perfect for opening it in the summer. And we've been going back to the gym starting this week because we just were so busy the last few weeks. We didn't get a chance to go regularly. So I've got my protein bar for the gym, and if I need them, I've got these wipes. So perfect. And then you had an option of another touch item, which was a sock, and another taste item, which was a candy bar, but we didn't upgrade to the highest box price. We just didn't feel like we needed to, or that it was worth it. So that's pretty much it, except that they always include a Spotify list for each of the books. And I can't wait to see what songs they put on this that go with this particular book. So that goes with sound. You always get a Spotify list. I almost forgot. Also for taste, they give you the option of making baked donuts, and they give you a recipe for baked donuts. And I think these recipes have some significance to the story, or at least they give the same vibe of the story. So I'll definitely make some baked donuts. That'll be fun. And that'll be great for one of my morning homework sessions. I like it. I like it. Okay. I can do this. This is gonna be fun. This is gonna be a lot of fun. So anytime I do any of my 5 senses experiences, I will share that with you. And I've already enjoyed the lotion. The lotion is wonderful. It has a beautiful smell. I'm gonna be lighting my candle as I start my class in about 20 minutes. Okay, so I finished my final class of the day, and that's a lot of reading. I was thinking about it because I've definitely done like 24 and 48 hours or 12 hours and 24 hours reading before, but I think I wasn't switching back and forth between so many books. And in the last 2 days, I have started 6 different books. And for me, starting books is always the hardest part because I got to get into a different writing style, into a different story completely. And all of these books are so different that like each time I read each of these, I'm changing the way I'm thinking about a book altogether. So it's not a bad thing. It just was tiring today. My brain is like, whoa. I do want to talk about The Fastest Way to Fall so far. This is by Denise Williams, and I'm happy to say that Denise Williams is an Own Voices author. This is her right here, and she is a plus size woman. So I'm always happy when I have a story about a fat character and I see that it's written by someone who knows what it's like. And I feel like there are some good things that are happening in this. We do have some fun email exchanges and stuff like that. So that kind of pushed it along, because at the beginning I was like, I don't know, some of the wording choices when it came to sentences just felt clunky. I think that's the word that I would use for it. There's not a lot of depth at the moment. Like, I feel like there's some big issues that are being raised. And of course, we're talking about body image and how our main character feels about herself. And then of course, this project that she's undertaking. And then our male character also has some personal things that are happening that are kind of deep subjects, and everything feels very surface level at the moment. And it could be because I'm just at the beginning of the book, but it also feels like we're getting little tastes of things, and it's a romance. But I tend to sometimes like a little more depth, especially when it comes to books that are about fat characters. I think because I don't read enough of them, like I should be reading more, you know? And so when I see myself represented in a book, I think I want more of the conversations that go with what it's like to be a fat person as a main character of a story or in a life. And I do know that some people can say that it's often heavy-handed and they don't like seeing that, but I think that is very different for the reader. And for me, I like to see more of the conversations. If this book is about those conversations, it's about fitness. If it's about those conversations about being fat and being positive, but then also having exercise being a part of your life, but it not being something where you're trying to revolutionize who you are as a person, I think that those conversations should be a little more discussed. Those are my little things that I'm just thinking, everything just feels so surface level. And I think the characters feel very surface level because of it. So maybe that's my problem. I don't know. I'm not disliking it. I'm enjoying it. And the romance is just starting to pick up. There's some flirtiness that's just starting to happen in the emails between our two characters. So that's fun, you know? It feels a little inappropriate. And I didn't even tell you what the synopsis is. So we have our character Britta, and Britta works for a company called Better Life, which is like, I think it's like an online magazine sort of thing where it's all about having the healthy life, doing all the things that are good for you. And she's always wanted to be a writer, a journalist, but this is the only job she was able to get as an assistant, production assistant, I think she is, for this company. It's meant that she does a lot of fact checking and a lot of different things and doesn't actually get to write her own story. But she comes up with this idea to try out this Fit app, and since she's the only plus-size person at the company she works for, she thought I'd be the perfect person to try this out. Her pitch doesn't go great, but one of her coworkers, who's also trying to become a writer as well, pitches something different where they both will try a fitness app. She'll try one, the coworker will try another one, and they're going to kind of compete for this position in writing. They're not necessarily competing with their bodies in the fitness app necessarily. They're competing for the better story so that one of them hopefully will end up with a writing position at the end. To do this, they have to go on this fitness journey through this app. And the app was partially created by our main character, Wes. And he's one of the co-owners of this company. Turns out his ex-girlfriend, who was also one of the people who started this company, has left him and has gone to be the CEO for the competing app, which is the one that the other person at this Best Life company is going to be trying out. But they haven't actually met because the app coaching that he's doing, the fitness app coaching, is not meant to be in person. It's meant to be over email messages and stuff like that. So she's supposed to be writing an article about her experience doing this, and he just needed something to take his mind off of all the things he's been dealing with. He doesn't usually coach, but he's going back to coaching just to get back into the groove of things because he loves coaching. That's what he enjoys more than running the company and all the things that he's been dealing with. So he's like, oh, I'll take on a client so that I can clear my head. And so she ends up being the client that he's working with. So that's where we're at so far. And yeah, their emails got a little inappropriate. I was like, that is not how you talk to somebody on a fitness app. So I'll be curious to see how this moves forward. I think that the writing is going to pick up for me as I get used to it. And I'll be curious to see how they end up meeting because technically I don't think they're supposed to meet. And she doesn't know what he looks like. He doesn't know what she looks like. They have no idea of who the other person is. And I was thinking about doing something that, I don't know if this is a good idea, but I'm just going to do it for my first impressions. I'm going to rank these in the order in which I enjoyed my first class with these different books. So which of these courses am I enjoying and what order am I enjoying them in at the moment? Because that'll probably probably change. I'm sure it'll change. Let me think about it and I'll get back to you. Okay, I think this is the order I would put them in as far as like anticipation to get back to them. Which ones I'm most excited to get back to, and based on my first experience reading these, which ones I've been enjoying the most. So, okay, here we go. Legends and Lattes, number 1, because I enjoyed reading that. It was so much fun. And then, of course, I'm very intrigued by the Poppy War. I've enjoyed so far what we're getting into, and we're about to really get into the academy setting, and I think that's going to be very interesting and very exciting and also very difficult. And then I am just really liking the writing style of Untamed and how it's making me think about things that it's good to think about things sometimes. And then Recursion, like I said, the writing was a little complex at the beginning. Understandably, that's how Blake Crouch's writing is usually at the beginning, and we're just trying to understand the science behind what's happening right now. So I'm still very excited about this, but I think that the pace hasn't quite picked up yet, and so that's why it's a little further down. The Fastest Way to Fall is next, and I think, like I said, the writing was a little clunky, but I'm getting kind of excited about this budding romance. And then Amy's Eyes, I would just say that was last because it probably didn't help that I was reading this the second half of that 4-hour block. But also it's not something I really feel like reading right now. It is cute and it's sweet and I'm starting to get into it more. There's something a little rambly about the writing style, and there's one bad character in here that I just really can't stand. And I like bad characters, but it's a middle grade. So I'm like, oh, this is a horrible character. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying I'm not gonna like this. I'm just saying that it's taken me a little longer to get into. And I think partially because it's not what I feel like reading right now. It's completely different than everything else I'm reading. Like, this is the most different, I think, to everything I'm reading right now. But I am enjoying it. Like, I'm enjoying all of these, and that's the good news. Not one of these is something that I'm just like, oh, I can't read anymore. I just can't stand it. I don't want to read this book. I wouldn't be anywhere close to DNFing any of these. I am enjoying them. So that is really good news. Good morning! Just got back from the gym and I have about a half an hour left of my inscription homework session. So I'm going to read this for about 30 minutes while I drink my caramel rooibos tea. So hopefully it has a bit of caffeine because I could use some caffeine this morning. I think rooibos has caffeine, but I'm excited because it smells really good. It does smell like caramel. And this is one of the taste, and it'll probably be taste and smell sensations that I will be able to enjoy with the book. So I'm going to do that and see how far I can get in 30 minutes, which will be perfect. That's just enough. And it'll be fun to just kind of dip my toe back into this book this morning. Too hot. I didn't try it because it's too hot. It does taste very caramelly. It's delicious. It tastes really good, actually. It smells really good. Okay, so I have finished my 2 classes for the day, and I do have 2 more homework sessions this evening. Conjuration is half an hour, and Spells and Incantations is an hour. So that's not bad, because I wasn't burnt out today, but it was nice to have time to do other things, because on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I really don't have much time to do much else. As far as my classes went, Animal Studies, I read Untamed, and I read about the same number of pages. I got a little distracted towards the second half of my class. I continued reading, but I kept reading certain things over and over again because I was thinking about something else, which is a problem when you have to read at a certain time. But you know, these things happen. That's the way my brain works sometimes. I was enjoying it a lot though, and it was making me cry. I actually had quite a few tears to my eyes. You know, I can say for certain that Glennon Doyle's experience is not exactly my own, but that's not the point of this. The point is to understand how to create your own experiences and not let other people dictate your experiences for you. And so there were certainly moments of this that resonated with me, that got me a little choked up. There are certainly sections that are a little more relevant for me. I'm more interested in the anecdotal stories. So when she starts talking about the processes of the ways that she's explaining these different things, these different keys to being her true self, I don't want to say that I zone out, because I don't. It's more that hearing the examples that are anecdotal are a little more interesting for taking in this information. At least for me, because that's the way my brain works, I guess. We're just talking about my brain a lot. Because then I read Recursion, and what class was that for? Demonology. Yes, Recursion is for demonology. And this is actually an interesting book because it started out a little slower, definitely a lot slower than Dark Matter. Dark Matter kind of just hits the ground running. One thing I can say, though, that's different with Recursion is that this one is creeping me out a bit more because it has a lot to do with neurology. It has a lot to do with messing around with the brain and memories and stuff. And that feels personal, you know, it feels scary. And so this one is actually a lot more creepy to read than Dark Matter was a lot more thrilling. I don't know, it's a different kind of playing around with time in these two different books. So granted, both of them are completely like everything is being changed, perception is being changed. But this one is more specific to using your brain chemistry and messing around with things up there. So that just is really uncomfortable to me. That's just kind of scary. And one of the characters in this is very unethical when it comes to scientific practices. He is incredibly unethical. He does not care. Like, there is no limit. He has enough power, and the things he can do, he can take away your ability to make choices on your own, to be able to decide for yourself what you want to do. And so that to me is absolutely frightening. And I'm only like 70 pages in, so hopefully this book doesn't give me too many nightmares. As far as the rest of the day goes, like I said, I have 2 homework sessions, and I do plan on at least attending them for the most part, you know. I'm working on my TBR video and actually have made a lot of progress editing that. Feels good. I did a lot of gardening and watering and whatnot today, so that feels good too. Yeah, it just feels like a productive day, so it's going really well. And then later on tonight, probably just catch up with my buddy reads. It's just reading. It's a lot of reading right now. Okay, so it's 9 p.m. and all my courses and my homework are done for the day. I just finished my section on spells and incantations, reading Amy's Eyes, and I am now on page 110. So I'm making pretty good progress on this one. Of course, it's a middle grade, like I said, but it definitely reads a little older than a middle grade at times, but then other times it does read like a middle grade. And I think that's what I meant by the style feels older, because I feel like a lot of middle grades from like the 19th century and maybe the early 20th century felt like they were written for an older audience, even though they were still children's books. I don't know how to explain that in a way that makes more sense, but I'm really starting to get into it more. The humor is really racketing in. There's just getting to be more and more things that are funny, and the adventure is getting more interesting. Now that the captain has come back for his sister, the doll, he's taken her with him, and they're going off on the ship. So we're getting ready for all the high seas adventures, and so far it's just getting very intriguing. So I'm liking where this is going. I'm finding it more fun than I was feeling about it yesterday. I didn't know what to make of it, I think. I didn't know what to make of the story, and it didn't feel like, for me, it was flowing in a way that I was very excited about. We're getting to the stuff that I'm really interested in, like the voyage, and like I said, the humor has ratcheted up a bit. I think it's getting to be pretty funny, or at least maybe the stuff I didn't realize was humorous before, I'm realizing that is meant to be looked at with a sense of humor. Good morning. It's time for school, and the good news is my commute is only the driveway, so I'm gonna go get some coffee because I didn't sleep well last night. I went to bed late because I was trying to get my TBR video up, and it's up, so that was good news. But I then went to bed after 12, and I'm tired now. I'm so tired. Not quite enough sleep. I have a bit of a headache, so I'm like, oh, another day where I have a lingering headache. It's just been a pain lately. My head's been a pain. I'm getting ready to start my conjuration class. And I've got my coffee and some biscotti to go with it. So I'm ready. Okay, so I'm 125 pages into Legends and Lattes, and I have a feeling that this course is going to be the first one I finish because I'm just making it along this book really quickly and I'm enjoying it so much. Like, it is so cozy and comforting and I love the characters. It's really all about the vibe and the characters. I'm a fan of cozy fantasy. It's wonderful. It does remind me of so many like fantasy games and things I've played in the past. One thing that I can say for Tuesdays and Thursdays is that 2-hour demonology homework session, which starts at 10, so here shortly in about 15 minutes, I just don't see myself doing much of it every Tuesday and Thursday because I've got this class in the morning and then I've got 2-hour classes, which equates to a 4-hour class block starting at 1 every day. So maybe I will read a little bit for demonology in the next couple hours. That's the only problem with randomly choosing your time blocking, is that some of the schedule just doesn't work out in the best way. And so like my homework is where it suffers because homework is optional. And I also know that I'm not feeling amazing today because I didn't get enough sleep. So the idea of sitting and reading for 2 hours and then sitting and reading for another 2 hours and sitting and reading for another 2 hours just feels daunting. One thing that will make today a little easier though is that I will have to leave my spells and incantations class early because I have a physical therapy appointment and that starts exactly at 5, so I have to make sure I leave with enough time to get there. So I'll be missing part of my 2 hours there. I don't think that's a big deal. My professor's fine with it. But I will be playing hooky tonight. I needed to reschedule my Apocalypse Now with my neighbors, watching the rest of that, and the only time we could do it was tonight during the time that I would normally be in Inscription. So I think it'll be okay. Like, that class, you know, it's a romance. It's not so serious. I can make up for it. My first week and I'm already playing hooky. Not so good. I decided to make a breakfast smoothie, which has bananas, protein drink, chocolate protein drink, Greek yogurt, and then berries in it, frozen berries. Okay, so I'm finally getting around to it. I'm going to scratch off The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. I did read this a month or 2 months ago. I never reviewed it or anything. 5 stars because it's just a classic picture book all about unconditional love. It's all about unconditional love. It's beautifully done. So it was really nice to have one that I could easily scratch off of this one, get done really quickly. And I also did my review already, but I have read Percy Jackson. So I'm gonna scratch off Percy Jackson. Not quite done with Grapes of Wrath, but I will get that one done hopefully in the next month. Okay, I was doing more yard work and was chopping down some tree branches and stuff like that. But I did make sure I did 30 minutes of my demonology homework, and I read about 15 pages. So not a ton, but it was still a little bit of progress. And I was crying already. Like, this is hitting some really extreme moments, really, really extreme things that are so frightening to people. And in this situation, our main character goes through an event that is so extreme and he's awake for the whole thing that you're like, it's just horrifying. I don't know why this scares me more than like horror stories that I've read, but maybe because it involves something that a lot of us actually do fear, which is like messing with our mind, tampering with our brain. And then there's a lot of grief and loss he's dealing with also, because his daughter died when she was in her teenage years. She got hit by a car. So he's also having to deal with revisiting these memories, and it's just so real and so horrifying. And the way this is written by Blake Crouch, it feels so real as the person who's reading it, that you're just like, oh. And I was already crying because his emotions are so real. You know what's funny about this is that I'm taking Lore right now, as I'm reading The Poppy War, and Rin is taking a lore class too. She just started a lore class. So it's kind of cool, because this is actually perfect. We're both in lore. It's Friday, it's the final day of school this week, and I've been productive today. I've been really productive. I've been working on laundry and stuff. I've been editing a video, this video actually, and went to the gym. I've already done my inscription homework. I've already done animal studies homework. I've got animal studies course coming up here in less than an hour. So it's going to be a good day for reading, and I think it's going to be a good day for getting things done. I don't know that I have any other plans aside from reading today and then editing, and like this week hasn't been a very adventurous, fun, going out and doing crazy wild things week, but I did have a good time last night watching Apocalypse Now with my neighbors, and I didn't realize that it was my neighbor's birthday, so it was really fun to like, oh yeah, it's his birthday. So it was great. It was a very fever dream-ish sort of ending to that movie. I really enjoyed so much about it, and I can see why it's so highly rated. I can see why people love it, because the cinematography was incredible. The sound and the music that was used, everything about the sound was one of the best I've seen in movies. And then the acting had so many famous actors, and I was like, wait, I know that actor. And of course, they're so much younger because this was done in 1979. So I'm like, wait a minute, I recognize that face. And so there were so many actors that I knew, but I didn't know them when they were that young. So it was like, whoa. And then the second half of this was so much of a fever dream. It really was a different tone completely. And I don't know that I enjoyed it quite as much. I know that was the more impactful part. It did give you that really uneasy feeling of the horror of everything that was happening during this war. And that was the intention. You know, that really was the intention. The horror of the insanity that this character had gone into because of all the things he had seen, all the horrific things, and then learning how to settle into that horror. And it was uncomfortable, and it was intentionally uncomfortable. So I get the point, but I don't know if I enjoyed it quite as much when it got to that point. So it was still a great time. It was a great time, wonderful time spending time with friends. If you haven't seen Apocalypse Now, I think it's one of those movies, as long as you can handle war movies, because that is the difficult aspect of this. This is set during Vietnam War. If you're not at all interested in watching movies set during a war, I wouldn't. But it was really a very good look at how dangerous things can be when you just are seeing these horrific things happening over and over again, and when you feel like there's no reason for doing them. And many Americans, of course, felt at that time that there was no reason to be there. There's no reason we should be losing this many lives. There's no reason we should be interfering in other countries' politics. There were a lot of people who didn't feel good about this. And that is kind of the theme of this Apocalypse Now. And also the danger of believing that you are God. And so that's kind of why it also takes on The Heart of Darkness from Joseph Conrad, why you can see the influence of that book in this movie, and why the intention was to create this movie based off that book. And there were definitely differences, but it was a very similar understanding of the danger that colonialism and having this idea of who's ultimately in power, the danger it can do on people, including individuals. So it was a very difficult, complex story, and I enjoyed it a lot, but it was very difficult. So I may not give too much of an update until this evening after I've finished all my classes, and then I will let you know how far along I am on all my books. I'm gonna do sort of like a, at the end of this week, where am I? And we'll see if I need to do any study sessions this weekend, because I have 2 hours, one on each day, to do study sessions. And I'm really excited about field studies, and I think I have wrangled Mom into doing a quest, doing field studies with me, because she hasn't done the quest, and she's a little like, meh, 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 meh. But I think she'll have fun once we actually do it. So I'm like, you're doing it. My poor mom. Here, this is what we're dealing with. What is this? Look at this. Look at this. That's you, Cece. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, unfazed. But she's covered. I'm totally in love with Thimble, the little ratkin baker. He's so cute. I can't stand it. It's the end of the week, and I wanted to give you a bit of an update as to where I am with all my courses, how my progression has come now that I'm pretty much done for the week. I still have spells and incantations homework right now for an hour, but my editing of this video and just the way the day has gone has been so successful that I'm going to keep editing, and I don't feel too bad about missing this homework session for spells and incantations because I'm doing really well in that book. So I'm very excited. Like, this first week has been a real success. I'm on top of things. I'm really good at this. And in fact, one thing that I can say is that doing this time blocking, as restricting as it may seem, I'm reading more this week than I've read in a very long time. Like, it's a great way to get reading in. Actually sit down and make yourself read at these specific times. Read for this length of time and not be able to stop, especially with the classes, until the timer goes up. It has really helped my reading a lot. So I'm doing great. I'll kind of go over each one individually, but that's just a quick look at where I'm at with all of these. It's good. I'm going to be starting my field studies tomorrow. I'm very excited. I can't wait to see what that brings, and that might bring more books, which would be cool. Another part of the reason I feel like I'm done for the night is because I want to finish 2 of my buddy reads. So I'm like 3 or 4 pages from the end of Station 11. So I'm almost done with that one. I can't wait to finish that book just because, you know, it feels good to have a book that'll actually finish in June. I didn't really do very well finishing anything in the month of June. July will be different. I'll have a lot of books finished in July. And then I haven't been able to catch up with House of Earth and Blood in the last few days. So I need to catch up with that buddy read. And then I'll be able to start my Grapes of Wrath buddy read again, like get back into that. It's just been a rough time to try and get more than 2 buddy reads going at once right now. So let's talk about how far I've progressed in all of my courses. And we'll start with Inscription because it's the book that's on top. So this is the romance. I did have to skip my class yesterday because I went and watched Apocalypse Now with my neighbors. And as far as the homework session goes, from 8 a.m. to 9:30, I typically only get about half an hour of that homework session because we go to the gym in the morning. And we had decided we're going to start going 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, because it made the most sense. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I actually have a class at 8 a.m. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, it's just homework. So we're going to the gym, which is good. It's great, especially because this is an exercise book. Or at least they focus on fitness and exercise in this book. And I am fine with that 30 minutes. I think that I'm going to have no problem getting through this. I'm currently on page 96. As I'm getting more and more into it, it's a quick read, and there's a lot of like text messaging back and forth and emails and stuff. So there's some of that mixed media / epistolary component to this. And you know, I'm really starting to get into it more. I'm liking the characters more. There's a little bit of depth to these characters at this point. More so our male character as opposed to our female character. You'd think we'd be getting more from her, but I feel like we're almost getting more from him at this point. But it's really enjoyable and it's fun. And just sometimes you feel like reading romance. I think summer's a great time for romance. All of a sudden, I just want to pick up this book. I have another romance that I haven't been able to work on recently, but I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get back to that. So I think I'm just in the mood for this. So a little less than a third of the way through that one. Next, we've got Animal Studies, and this is the one that I was a little nervous about just because it was the least amount of class time / homework time I had. And you know what? Honestly, I'm doing really well because this is such a quick read, and I've been enjoying this read a lot. It has been tough at certain times. Like I mentioned before, there's areas that choke me up a little bit because I think just as a woman, you know, thinking about how we feel we're perceived within society and how we feel like we need to behave or act. I feel like I'm not as caged as Glennon Doyle was within her life, but I definitely resonated with some of these moments. And so I am enjoying this. I'm actually really enjoying it. And it has enough of the explaining what she means by the things that are important to her while still having those personal anecdotes that I appreciate. I really like those. So let's see. I'm currently on page 128. So yeah, I've made it quite a bit of ways through, and I am pretty good about getting to these classes and these homework sessions. So it's pretty easy. I mean, the commitment is not that bad because it's like an hour for the class and a half an hour for the homework sessions. So those ones are easy to do. I have no problem sitting down and just busting through this one. Also, before I go on, I wanted to point out that some of these I probably will be done with before the 3 weeks are over. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is read these until they're finished, you know, with my class times or with my homework times, and do my review. And once I've done my actual review for these, I can use the class period for whatever course it is, animal studies or, you know, lore, what have you, to do field studies. Only the class time, not the actual homework time, and it can't be any of the other books. Like if I'm behind on lore, which is Poppy War, I can't use the class time for animal studies once I've finished with animal studies to work on lore. It can only be for field studies, and only because I don't know how many books we're gonna have to read for field studies, for the quests. I'm not sure, but that class period will be freed up so that I can do my field studies at that time. I can continue adventuring. Speaking of lore, then we've got my lore course with the Poppy War, and I'm really starting to get into this. Not that I was struggling before, but there is a lot of history, there's a lot of politics, there's a lot of history, military history in this, and it just takes you a little while to kind of grasp everything that's going on, the bigger scope of what is going on, and then of course what role our characters play in all this. So I'm currently on page 112. I'm really starting to enjoy the character interactions and what's going forward with this. There were a couple of scenes where our main character, I'm like, what kind of choices is she making? And she's so young that I'm like, why are you making these choices? Some of the parts where she was talking about strategy and stuff, I was like, ugh, that's pretty difficult. But I know that when it comes to military strategizing, choices are made that are not necessarily good for everyone. And so hearing her thoughts on that made me feel like, ugh, you know, I don't, you know, it's hard. I don't know. It's difficult when you're talking about a subject that is so tricky. It's a tricky subject. And so yes, I am really enjoying this. It's just a lot. It is a lot. And I'm excited to see what happens next. I'm really excited when I get to pick this one up again. So let's see. Yeah, I said 112. A quarter? Not quite a quarter. But you know, this is the one I was worried about. Next, we've got Demonology, Recursion by Blake Crouch. And this one is going really, really well. In fact, I'm almost halfway. Yeah, I'm almost halfway. I have been flying through this thing. I'm on page 136, and it is so fun, and it's getting really exciting and really scary. Like I mentioned before, anytime you're talking about the brain and just altering things, and this is altering much more than just these people's brains, it gets very unnerving. And so I feel like there have been parts of this where I'm just like, whew, uncomfortable, but very exciting, and things are happening constantly in this. So I can't wait to see what happens next. And I think this is one of the ones where I'll be able to donate that class time to my field studies because, yeah, look at that. I'm just flying through it. And then we've got Conjuration, Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. Another one I'm absolutely flying through. I think I am actually halfway through this one. I'm currently on page 148. And I am so in love. 5-star predictions. I mean, I am loving it. I know that maybe for some there's not as much depth in this that there could be, and I haven't got all the way through it, obviously. I love the characters. I love the vibes. I love the characters. Just so awesome. And this is giving me all the feels. It really is. I'm absolutely just, this is like a book made for me. It was made for me. And then finally, Spells and Incantation. I've got Amy's Eyes. This is by Richard Kennedy. And I'm moving right along on this one. Like I said, I didn't do the homework tonight for this class, but I'm going through this one so quickly because it's middle grade and it reads pretty easily that I'm not concerned. This is another one that I think I'll get done pretty quickly. And I am really enjoying this. I feel like this book has like, there's times when I'm really pulled in and I'm really enjoying the storyline, and then there's times where it lags a little. And it's not like it's boring necessarily, it's just my interest lags a teeny bit. And then yet it pulls me right back in. So I am really liking everything that is happening now that we are on the ship, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Everything just seems so fantastical though. You know, it's definitely a middle grade because a lot of it's like, it's really unbelievable is what it is. There's a pair of underwear that gets turned into a person. So, I mean, and his name is Skivvy. This is fun though. And look at that. I'm almost halfway through this one as well. So yeah, I'm really doing well. I probably should have made this a 2-week challenge. It would have been even more challenging. But I'm having a blast and I'm so impressed with my reading. It's been so good this week. I don't think I could keep this up forever, but I really am enjoying it right now. And it's a really fun experiment to see how well I can do and then how many pages I can read. So I marked these off so that I would see how many pages I'm reading at each time. And, you know, obviously the number of pages you're going to read is going to be different depending on the book and what the formatting is on the book, but it is really fun for me to see what my reading pace is like, because I never really tracked it before, so I'm enjoying that. But I really don't feel like I've been rushing through these, because I haven't, and there have been a few times where I've stopped and I've gone back a few pages and I've reread sections, especially in Poppy War, because I want to make sure I'm not trying to rush through these, that I'm actually enjoying it and understanding it. Oh, and that's true for Recursion too, because Recursion is very complicated. It's very, very complicated. So when you go into this, just know that there is a lot of scientific jargon in this, and so you kind of have to make it through those sections to understand what exactly they're talking about, because it is a little complex. So that's it for tonight. I'm going to continue editing this video and then get through my buddy reads, and I will see you tomorrow for the first day of field studies. Good morning! It is Saturday and it is time to go questing. I'm ready for my field studies course. Mom is joining me. We're very excited and we're ready to do this. However, I'm going to end this vlog here because I've already been editing this vlog so far and it is going to be long. So if you want to see what happens on our first day of doing field studies, please stick around, come back and see the next vlog. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, because we would love to have you as part of our little community here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later. Bye.